What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? And today I'm going to be talking a little bit more on the Soul Reaver 1 and Soul Reaver 2 remaster from replayers because I feel like the video that I previously did, um, it did actually end up getting some pretty good viewership. And but I do have a little bit more as to what I really want to talk about here because I feel like that his quarrels with this is still a little too confusing and maybe a little bit far fetched. But however, I just really want to talk about this because it's been on my mind for quite a bit lately too. So let's just dive right in. So what we're going to do here is that we are just going to fast forward here just a little bit, and we're just going to be talking some of the areas in the remaster of this trailer. So now, okay, so this is where you get the water glyph in the human citadel, if I remember correctly, in Soul Reaver 1. On the left, this is going to be the Soul Reaver 1's PS1 version, comparing that to the version of the remaster on the right. And to me personally, I really think that the remastered version of the same statue looks really good. Even though that the left side of the PS1 version of the same game looks more visual nostalgia feel to it because it's darker in tone and its artistic design and the philosophy of it. But however, I still think that the remastered version of the same exact statue looks really good. I mean, it looks more appealing to the keen eye of anybody who have watched this video. But I still believe that I have no problems with this new art design that they have done for the remaster. But again, I just really think that a lot of people are complaining way too much about this because the game's not even out yet. And yeah, for what I understand, that the game is still going through of a polished state. They are still fixing quite a few things and maybe possibly making some more polishes on the artistic direction maybe a little bit or vice versa, but we don't know what's going on. But what we do know that this game is coming out December 10th of 2024. So one thing in particular I would really like to show off here real quick as well before we venture on forward. If you take a look at the wings on the left hand side, comparing that to the right, they are a little bit darker in tone, and with more of a deep gray or maybe of a darker gray. But I still think that the remastered version of the statue still looks great. Now, if you take a look where the feet are or the legs are in the small pool here in the foundation, it is going to be a little bit much more darker in the PS1 version, but there still is some darker tone in the pool in the remastered version of the game as well. And if you take a little bit more deeper or look a little bit behind the statue, the on the right hand side and the left hand side, just a little bit more, they are a little bit dark, but not as dark as it is shown on the left hand side of the screen. So there we go. That's pretty much what I want to talk about this particular area. And now we are going to venture forward even more. And so, okay, so here is Raziel from Legacy of Kain Defiance and from the remaster and then from the original version of the game, which is the PS1 version itself. Now, while I do agree that the original one still retains some of its unique type of quality because this game is rather old, it's about 20 or 25 years old. But however, I still think that the original still looks great to today. But even though the graphics of the original version for PS1 is outdated as well. To me personally, when it comes to the FMV, with the introduction of Soul Reaver 1 specifically from the PS1, the reason why they're doing a remastered as well is because they really wanted to have Raziel look in the remastered form of what he initially looked like in the FMV of the introduction of the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver intro of the game. So I really think that's a really good way of showing off what Raziel actually looks like from maybe from the box art as well, for what I understand as well. So I think that's really cool. I think him comparing from the remaster from the original to Legacy of Kain Defiance is not even close. Because with Legacy of Kain Defiance, they were actually able to have another company called Nixus that was able to use more better polygon counts and more designing type of philosophy of how what they really want Raziel to look like in Defiance, and I think they did an excellent job with that. But however, when it comes to a 20-year-old or 25-year-old game, I think doing a remaster on the PS1 version was the right move rather than just going with the Dreamcast version of the game itself. Because even though if they did go with the Dreamcast version of remastering it, it still would have been really good though as well. So I just want to bear that in mind and put my own personal thoughts in that too. So we are now going to move a little bit more forward here, and we're not going to talk about that because I think it's idiotic and silly, but that's just me. Okay, so now we are going to go to the original form of Malaya. In the remaster, this is exactly what he was initially supposed to look like before he eventually got cut. And if you can see with the eyes of the original versus that of the remaster of Malaya and a little bit of the metal chest plate, and if you take a really good closer look, he does have those ears. Those ears still represent of what he initially looked like as a vampire before he got into a devolved state of a very ugly slug by walking very heavily. So that was really cool. Now we're going to venture a little bit more forward here. We're not going to talk about that either because I feel like that's kind of pointless. So if you take a look at the fixed, as he previously mentioned, he thinks that the fixed looks much better than the remastered. To me personally, I think this is. I agree to disagree, but I also think that his opinion is a little bit wrong. But that's just me. But like I said before, this is the remastered version of Malaya in the remastered version of Soul Reaver 1. Like I said, this is what he was supposed to look like before he eventually got cut. And for what I understand as well, what he is not really talking about here because I have muted is the fact that I do believe that the fix still looks great. It looks a little bit more menacing to a certain degree, but I still think that the remastered version still looks great as well because I really just like the way how the tonality and its artistic design of Malaya really brings out what he actually was supposed to look like before he got cut as well. So my apologies for that repetition is there as well. So another thing that he mentioned here in this particular spot of the trailer is that he mentioned that his out structure of his body or the exterior part of his body are not as dry as what the fix looks like. And honestly, I'm going to disagree on this. I think that the bones of the exterior design of Malaya looks much more drier than it does with the fixed and or the original, but that is just me. So again, I just think that this whole entire thing, I believe that this person is so misunderstood. And what I will say, the reason why I know so much a little bit about this, not 100% as a professional, is because I do a lot of research. I've looked at a lot of early concept art and design. I'm a very visual person, so I know this. And so I really think that coming from not from a professional standpoint, as I'm not a professional, but this person replayers apparently he is some sort of a designer. He has 100% confirmed that from a reply that I did a comment on not too long ago. And I'm not really condoning that. I just think that even still, I just think that his little irksome quarrels of why he thinks that the fix looks so much better than remastered. Like I said again, I do agree with this to a certain type of degree, but at the same time, I still do believe that the remastered version of Malaya looks so much better. So, all right, so here we go, guys. We are now going to further ahead here. Now, what a lot of people do not know, Rahab was essentially supposed to look like this on the right-hand side for the remaster for Soul Reaver 1. The point being that the reason why they cut it is because there were a lot of due to technical limitations of lower polygon counts and textures and everything vice versa when it comes to a console like the PS1 because the PS1 was not able to utilize as to what the remaster is able to show us for the characterization of Rahab or Malaya or Kane or anybody because well another thing what I do know like I said not coming from I'm not a professional here. I just really think that having a remaster from an old school game like this such as Soul Reaver 1 itself is that I really think that a remaster is a much better idea rather than going full on remake. I still believe that a remake would not be as great because they felt like that if they were to do a remake, they also felt that it wasn't going to really hit the nostalgia mark as to what the remaster would be able to do. So again, if you see what Rahab looks like, this is indeed the original uh, retail version of Rahab, but going back to what he was initially supposed to look like in the remaster, I think this is awesome. I do agree that in the original PS1 version of Rahab as well, looks a little bit more menacing, but to me personally, I still think that the remaster for Rahab still looks absolutely awesome. I love the way how he looks. I love the way how the original design looks as well. And like I said before, he does look more menacing in the original. But with the remaster, like I said again, one more time, so I intend to repeat myself, so my apologies, is that this is his original look. So now if you take a look at his body, it's more green than like of a dark grayish or maybe a medium grayish type of color than from the original. It actually really makes it really cool tonality and ascertain to what the colorization of the water in the John Dabby as Raziel confronts him and gets his ability to swim in water. So I think that's what's really cool about that as well. And I think that they did a really good job with this remaster, and I can't wait to see what the full product is going to look like when it comes out. So, all right, guys, so let's venture forward a little bit more here. Okay, so here we go, guys. This is where the fixed is. And I do believe that the fixed still looks a little bit more menacing, but this is not me personally. Again, I still think that the original looks much better than the fix, but to me personally, I still believe the remastered looks just so much better coming from an artistic point of view. Like I said, I am not an artistic professional. I am not a designer professional. It's just that I know what I like, and I think the fixed and the original still look great, but the remastered just fits more perfectly to what Rahab was essentially supposed to look like as he was supposed to. But like I said again, this got cut due to technical limitations and the power of the PlayStation 1. So, again, going back to the fix one more time here, like I said again, I still think it looks awesome. I really do like the way how Rahab looks, but again, I still think that the fix does not look as great as the remaster. But again, that is just me. Okay, we are now going to venture on a little bit more forward here. And so basically, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to take a look at some of the other parts of Soul Reaver 2 trailer here. This looks fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. I really like the fact of how this really utilizes the systems and the quality of what the engine is able to be capable of rendering and frames per second, possibly of maybe 60 frames per second rather than 30 frames per second from these games back in the day. And so I still think this looks absolutely amazing. I can't believe that this is actually happening, and this makes me so happy. But again, these games are old. They are 20 or 25 years old, and it's astounding that we're getting in some sort of type of form of comeback of these two games. So I really think now when it comes to, let's back up one more time here. So my apologies. Yes, this is exactly what I want to talk about here though too, because I want to talk about the Seraphon Stronghold and Soul Reaver 2 specifically. And so this looks great. I love the tonality of the Spectral Realm in the remastered. I think it looks really cool in its artistic point of view and style and unique way. And this just looks so fantastic, guys. And I really just think that this is going to be very artistically phenomenal. And so I just can't wait for this. So we're going to venture on a little bit more forward here. So basically, I don't have much to talk about there, not about here really. I just wanted to talk a little bit more on the lines of, what Raziel looks like from the remaster to the fix to the original, and what Rahab looks like from its fixed and original and remastered version as well. And so this is pretty much what I really want to do here, because I really think that it's always good to have another perspective on another person's outlook or perspectives on this type of thing. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, it's been such a privilege, and I really greatly appreciate everything what I've been doing Please keep up the great work of being so awesome and supporting me in my channel and just making me so humble and making me so privileged of having such an amazing community and reaching out to the people that have been giving so much positive feedback and comments or questions, and I'm more than happy to reply back if and whenever possible. So again, I greatly appreciate everything that everybody has been giving me. And much further ado, this is Jake from Citizen JV. Thank you for tuning in. And one thing I will say, Kane looks absolutely amazing at the end of this trailer. I really like the way how Kane looks. I love the way how the Blood Reaver looks like before he eventually became the Soul Reaver with when Razio went into the Blood Reaver at the end of Legacy of Kane Defiance. And one thing I will say is that I'm kind of curious what will happen if these two games are successful as remasters for the current generation of hardware as we see now, whether if it's PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Series X or S, and on PC. So we'll see how far this goes because if these, like I said again, if these are very, very successful, we might eventually get either a sequel or a continuation or a brand new game in the not too distant future. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Any comments or questions, as I said before, please feel free. And you guys have a good rest of your week, and I'll chat you guys later.